Hey, it's Brian Conway here and welcome to this video. And if you're a sales manager or a business owner, this is one of the video styles that I do whereby I share with you tips and tactics and things taken from conversations I've had with other sales leaders like yourself, or some of the actual notes from coaching sessions and things that I've had with people that are clients of mine that I'm helping improve their sales team and their sales team's performance. And one of the conversations I had this week was around the cost of an underperformer. Because what we often think about initially is that this individual, if we had to replace them, it could be 2 times the cost of their salary. Sometimes it could be $100,000 to $200,000 in cost of actually replacing that individual, plus time and effort and all the other things that are associated with that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sometimes the hidden costs. And this was some of the elements from the conversation, as I said, that I had. So this individual was saying that they really felt that morale was quite low in the team at the moment. And I'll come on to some of the reasons why in a second. But I know from research that executives, 95% of executives actually, have said that when they have a kind of a bad performer or whatever on their team, that it affects morale. And 35% of them said it affects morale significantly. And some of the reasons behind that, and with this conversation, was around the fact that he felt that the higher performers were just kind of getting burnt out. Obviously, as a consequence of having to pick up the slack, of having to make up the gap in performance, they were just getting burnt out, and that was creating stress, and it was starting to affect their performance now. And he could see the productivity actually start to tank. There was deals that he thought would have come in that actually slipped. There were mistakes that people were making, and this is often just all the stress sometimes you're putting on an individual. So that's kind of at an operational level, but it does also create resentment. And that's what he was saying. I call it performance punishment, but he was saying he just sort of felt that the relationship with some of his better performers was starting to tank a little bit as well. And that can happen because they feel that somebody else who's not performing as well as them is getting all the attention and all the recognition, and there's just sort of more pressure put on them, and they're getting neglected in a little way, and it does affect their behavior and how they feel. They say an individual doesn't often leave a bad job, they leave a bad manager. So these are some of the kind of costs I think that we often don't think about as a sales leader, these sort of knock-on effects of a performer who's struggling, who we do want to help and we must help, but the knock-on effect, as I said, to other individuals in their team. So think about that. I've worked with sales managers and sales leadership, and we've had a conversation about what would be the actual cost if their best performing salesperson left the team. And on many occasions, that has got into millions worth of dollars. Millions. Some big $1 million, depending on the size of the deals and things. Somebody's working on a $100 million deal that they've been working on for a year or whatever, and they decide to leave. That really puts a lot of revenue at risk. But people do. Sometimes they just have enough. They're burnt out. They're disheartened. Morale is low. They just want to go somewhere where it's a much nicer, more pleasurable environment, perhaps, to work. That's as important as the success in the job is the environment within which we work. So I want you to think about that. As I said, there was a number of things that we talked about and how we could fix that. And one of those is really making sure you fix that individual as quick as you can. And that can be done relatively quickly if you know how, which is why I put the Rep Rescue Playbook together, to create this kind of real simple plan, a series of plays that can turn somebody around and just save not only them, but actually save the morale and the productivity and performance of the whole team, and all the hidden costs associated with getting that wrong. So think about what are these knock-on effects perhaps of somebody who's not performing. Make sure you're giving as much love to your high performers, that you're coaching them and helping them improve their game at the same time as you're in perhaps the individual that you're trying to rescue. So hope you found that useful, something to think about this week. Please feel free to comment or ask me any questions. DM me if you'd like any help. Please like, share, all that sort of stuff. Always appreciated. But please just think about that. Think about its application to your situation if you're struggling with an individual, and think about how you might be able to turn things around more and do things differently that doesn't affect the whole team and keeps that morale going. All right. My name is Brian Conway. Thanks again for your time. I look forward to seeing another video very soon. All the best. Bye-bye.